All right, man. How's it going, everybody? So, it's been a minute since you got a video from me, about a week or so. And best believe there will be more Mortal Kombat videos coming out soon. But this channel is not just a Mortal Kombat video. I mean, a Mortal Kombat channel, is it? No, this channel is supposed to be about me exploring as a fellow geek, nerd, literature lover, world building enthusiast. Me exploring lore and deep lore throughout all kinds of different content that I love. Well, one that I've been avoiding is actually my favorite, which is Star Wars. So you might be wondering, okay, well, Star Wars is your favorite. Why haven't you been talked about Star Wars? Well, I honestly thought that it's something that's probably oversaturated and that there are plenty of other YouTubers who do it a lot better than I do. YouTubers out there that I love that talk about Star Wars. And I was just like, well, what would be the point of me doing it? And to be honest, it's because it's my voice. That would be the point. Is you all hearing my voice, my love and enthusiasm for Star Wars. There's nothing wrong with having more. Even if this channel gets flooded out with 15 other thousand channels that do it way better, I'm still gonna go ahead and just enjoy myself. Cause damn, look, I wasn't necessarily like, oh, Star Wars is dead, but it was feeling like it was on its last breath for sure. Kenobi was pretty decent, but it had way too many issues for me. Andor was boring. I didn't get past the first two episodes. If you loved Andor, hey, don't hate on me. I could not get into it because the second and third episode was starting to put me to sleep. I was not there for it. And then we have things like Mandalorian. I love the Mandalorian. Mandalorian 1 was solid. Mandalorian 2 was hype as hell. Mandalorian 3, I have my issues with it, but it was pretty good. It was pretty solid. But that's all I had was just Mandalorian. Now, I've been a huge fan of Star Wars since I was a kid, as I'm sure most people have been a huge fan of Star Wars since I was a kid. I am a 90s kid. I grew up during the prequel era. That's Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3, in case you don't know. I loved Anakin and Obi-Wan and that whole dynamic. I watched a little of Clone Wars. However, I did not watch Clone Wars when I was younger. But when I got older in college, I went back and watched Clone Wars and caught up. And I just loved it. I first fell in love with Clone Wars, or sought out Clone Wars, after seeing some cool stuff Ahsoka was in later in life, like I think in Rebels. And I was just like, wait a minute. This is pretty cool. I want to know more about Ahsoka. I didn't realize she became such an awesome person, such a baddie. So I went back, rewatched all of Clone Wars. It's just like, oh my gosh, bro. Like, I forgot about the feelings when I used to watch it as a kid. I just rewatched Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3 over and over. The rise and fall of Anakin. So I had that Ahsoka love, but like it faded. I wouldn't even say it was a full love. It was just like, okay, yeah, she's cool. And then it faded. Then I got back into it in college, rewatched all of it. Like, man, I love Ahsoka. She became my favorite, hands down favorite canon character. And I say canon because I think my overall favorite Star Wars character is Darth Revan, or Revan, depending on how you pronounce it. Jedi Knight / Darth Revan. But he is not canon yet. Kind of, sort of. Clone Wars kind of made him canon, but then that episode got deleted. That's another story. So then I got into Rebels. Rebels I got into late as well. I kept avoiding Rebels, thinking, oh, okay, I'm sure it has some cool stuff in it, but it's not like Clone Wars. It's a whole different art style. It's Disney owned. I'm sure it's going to be very kiddie. Clone Wars was pretty cool because even though it had some episodes that I guess you could say was very kiddie, they had a lot of war in that show. A lot of war, death, a lot of deep, spiritual things in it. I really like that. Then we get to Rebels. Takes me a few years. Fast forward, I have a wife, I have a kid, and I hadn't had my second kid yet, my baby girl yet. But then I started watching Rebels, and I was like, man, I've been missing out. Rebels is amazing. What have I been holding out on? I've been holding myself from some amazing artwork. Did not know that Dave Filoni was behind both Rebels and Clone Wars, and just the brilliance within him and how he creates Star Wars. If you don't know, I'm sure you do, but if you don't know, Dave Filoni has worked side by side with George Lucas in the past, and he is the person that has closely adapted George Lucas's work. Everybody else has had these attitudes of, oh, well, we're trying to do something different and better, and you can further his work, therefore being a little different, without driving away from his work. Talking to you, sequel trilogy. But anyway, um, Fast forward to now. Ahsoka is some of the greatest Star Wars that I've seen since I was a kid. And it's truly amazing. Like, I love Mandalorian, but Mandalorian doesn't have anything on this Ahsoka show. It's such a brilliant show. It's such a great, amazing experience to see Ahsoka after all these years grow up into this amazing warrior. Even when we got Clone Wars season 7, that show gave me chills. That show hit hard. Clone Wars season 7 after all those years. Now for me, it was just a few years because again, I caught up with the rest of Clone Wars late. But Clone Wars season 7, when she fights Darth Maul, the last time she sees Anakin, which is her first time seeing him since she left the Jedi Order, yada yada yada, it gave me chills. So to now fast forward to where she's grown, she's like 40, 50 years old, and she has this experience. And spoiler alert if you haven't seen episode 4 and 5, but spoiler alert. Essentially, she dies. And this is how I'm perceiving it, because it's left open-ended. That's what's so amazing about this show. It's left open-ended. So you can perceive it like, oh, it's just in her mind, or, oh, she was just like knocked out in a coma. The girl died. That's how I'm perceiving it. That's the only way she was able to enter into the world without worlds. I mean, the world between worlds. That's funny. By the way, I did not name my channel after that. Funny enough. My channel name is Close World Within Worlds, but it's different. Anyway, she did not enter it through physical means like Ezra. She entered it through spiritual means because her body is separated from, her spirit is separated from her body. Or she would have seen Anakin as a Force ghost. Instead, she's there. And it's confirmed when Anakin's just like, oh, you lost. And she's like, I don't remember. And he's like, trust me, you lost, or something like that. And he looks around as in, you would not be here with me. I know from experience, if you're here, you lost. And that's what he was realizing, or I'm sure what he realized when he defeated Palpatine and turned to the good side before he died. But this show gave us Ahsoka and Anakin reunited, but now on live screen. For emotional reasons, just as a viewer, it's amazing to see them actually in live action together. It's so amazing. It's something we never got to see. And it's Hayden Christensen. It's not just any Anakin. It's Hayden Christensen's Anakin again. But now we actually see him with Ahsoka, something we never got to see on the big screen. It's amazing. Then on top of that, for more quote-unquote spiritual reasons within the show, it's on a whole nother level to finally have Ahsoka reunite with Anakin after all these years. Last time she saw him was before he turned. And then when she saw him again, she saw him as Vader and had to fight him as Vader. And then kind of got that glimpse of him when she saw his eyes piercing through the mask that she had sliced. But now we see her get to actually talk to Anakin in this afterlife experience. Now, some people think that, oh, that's not really Anakin. Maybe that's just the amalgamation of the Force, or maybe that's like the father or the son. If you know, you know. Because Ahsoka will technically kind of be like the embodiment of the daughter, if you will, because she's been brought back to life before by the daughter, the living embodiment of the good of the Force. Anakin was supposed to be the balance of the Force, the equivalent to like the father, and the son was the living darkness. And if you have not seen those episodes of Clone Wars, I highly suggest going back and watching them. They're amazing episodes that definitely expand on the deeper lore of Star Wars, something that this channel loves to get into, so we'll have a video on it. However, back on what we got today, or yesterday, depending on when this video drops. Ahsoka and Anakin go on a little mind adventure through the past. We get to see young Ahsoka, not just old Ahsoka talking with older Force ghosts or, dead spiritual Anakin, because it wasn't a Force ghost, but anyway. Which, again, I think makes sense. Some people complain about him not being a Force ghost. It's because she's dead, too. She's not going to see him as a ghost because she's technically a ghost, if you will. Like, they're both dead at that time. But we get to see Anakin and Ahsoka, young Ahsoka, in the Clone Wars with Anakin's Clone Wars armor on, running through one of their first missions. The actress, the young girl who played Ahsoka, she killed it. She knocked it out the park. Done. It's a home run. Then we get to see her during the Siege of Mandalore, which took place during the Ahsoka book. And also basically season 7 of Clone Wars, which was amazing. It would have been, I guess, cool if they casted an older actress for that specific part, but I think the girl still killed it. Even like her mannerisms kind of aged with it. I think it was perfect, and they changed her outfit and stuff like that, which is really cool to see. Just the minute details was on point. But the thing about it that I think people miss is like there was some deep spiritual connection here. I've heard where Dave Filoni said that this was like a spiritual piece to him. It was just, spiritual experience. He was right on the money. I was wondering what was going to happen, but he was right on the money. Look, we're going to break down in a whole different video the lesson that Ahsoka learned, what Anakin was trying to teach her, because I think it was it was a lot to take in, so it was very easy to bypass and miss and just kind of breeze over the actual lesson there. So we're going to have in a different video. But I just want to say Star Wars is back. For all those people that's like, oh, Star Wars is dead, it's not coming back. It's back, bro. And if you're wondering, you're like, yo, I can't with the woke stuff. Ask yourself what woke is. Because Ahsoka is a female warrior who's badass, right? However, Ahsoka is one who has earned it in real time over the last like 10 years or so. And throughout the lore in the world of Star Wars over the last 30, 40 years of her life, she has earned to become this bad A warrior. It wasn't just handed to her. She didn't just blink and she's this awesome person for no reason like Rey, where everything is just kind of handed to her in power. And when she's able to take on everything. No, Ahsoka has literally earned that right to be like, yo, she is a part of the legacy of Anakin, of Obi-Wan. That's not woke. That's character development, people. Yeah, she happened to be a girl. Now everything has to be a dude or it's quote unquote woke. The idea of what woke is anyway is, I'm not going to even get into all that, but people use that as kind of an scapegoat when they're afraid to see change, I think, in my opinion, or maybe they're just afraid that narratives are going to get pushed down their throat, like She-Hulk ultimately was. She-Hulk was kind of that, too much you pushing agendas and I'm not able to enjoy this show that I'm here to watch. Ahsoka's not that. Ahsoka is a character that has been well thought out and planned for years and years and years. And maybe the creators messed up some ways, but he learned from him and got better with this character. This is like his baby. This is his character that he's been working on and wanting to carry on through the legacy of George. Like Ahsoka carries on the legacy of Anakin, so does Dave carry on the legacy of George. That's not being woke. That's called furthering a vision and fully developing a character properly. So I say check out the show if you haven't already. Enjoy it. And if you are watching it and you have haters all down your throat who's kind of quenching, or not quenching, but they're kind of muting out your feelings and stuff. You're starting to feel cross between, do I enjoy this show or do I not want to be on this bandwagon? Enjoy the show for you. Enjoy the show for you because it's too amazing. It's about time we finally get something good like this in Star Wars. And what we don't want to do is look back 5-10 years from now and we did not support Ahsoka correctly, and then we have crappy shows come back out like Kenobi, like Andor. I know some people like Andor, but to me that was mid. Like Star Wars Episode 9 and 8. Which is better, Ahsoka or Star Wars Episode 9 and 8? There's huge differences there. Let's enjoy this masterpiece, if you will. Dare I say it? For we be looking back like a lot of people look at the prequels and say, oh, those are good movies, but they hated them during that time. And now they see the sequels and they're like, yo, let's go back to the days of, George Lucas in the 90s. No. Remember, y'all hated it so much. Let's appreciate good work. Let's not get caught up in politics. Let's just appreciate a story for a story. Even if the story was trying to be quote unquote woke. Is the story good? Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Is the story good? And if you're a true fan of Star Wars, not too many people can argue and say, this ain't Star Wars. I appreciate y'all so much for checking out my video. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you all, and I will see you soon. We're going to take it from the top with Mortal Kombat, Star Wars, whatever nerdy thing I feel like talking about. Hopefully you guys support me. I know y'all will, because y'all been doing such an amazing job at it. And I wouldn't have been pushing forward this far had y'all not. So thank you again. I'll talk to you later.